I was at a different company that does a very similar thing, also AI-driven automation for enterprises, but for IT space. So very similar, and so overall several years in this space, and wanted to share my journey with you today. As I know, I'm sure everyone can relate to a new product launch, and maybe some of you are already in your career or later in your career will come across a launch of a new technology, something that is on a cutting edge and that market is not aware of. And my presentation is about riding a hype wave, because this is where this is when I joined the space. It was right at this hype wave. So let me start. Okay. Before I want to start, I just want to already speak about the three main lessons that I learned from this journey. So the first one was that riding a hype wave is not enough to succeed. There's so many other things that you need to do. That was a big revelation. Then the other thing is that if you want to launch an innovative product, you need to build trust with your market. And secondly, when you're building this trust, you want to work with the entire ecosystem of the market players, not just your customers, but there is several of them. So we'll get into that later. So when I joined this space initially, and if I'm asked right now to describe what happened in 3 words, hype, confusion, and fear, this is what was happening in the AI industry. So let's see how it all began. Yeah, so I don't have a music, which is a good thing apparently, but you can play it in your head. Yeah, that's the effect that I was going for. So imagine how AI started. You know, when I joined, I thought, oh, this is this cool new thing. No, AI is really old. It's been developed and tried and failed for decades. As long as, you know, the computer science appeared, humans started being curious about, can we build something like an artificial intelligence? And they tried and failed, and then eventually several things came together and it all started. So things that came together were, first of all, higher computational power that was big enough to support this massive amounts of data. And by the way, data was the other thing that was needed for this to happen, because you need to feed your AI with this massive data, otherwise they can't really learn. And then the other part was the algorithms, you know, machine learning, deep learning, all of these algorithms that were developed around the same time. It was late 2000s, early 2010, when it all started happening. And then finally, after around the time when I joined in 2015, there was this AI as a technology was at the top, at the summit of the hype wave. And companies were raising money like crazy. There were so many around the world. So here I have some data that the estimated revenue was $10 billion, and the estimated growth was 300% by 2020. And awesome, right? So I thought, that's an easy job. So when I went to this industry, I thought that's a product marketer's dream job. You know, we were talking about a nightmare before. That's a dream. So I will just say, hey, we have this cool technology. It's AI, by the way. It solves all your problems. Hey, Mr. CEO, buy us. And they will be like, yes. Just name your price. I'll write you a check. Say no more. Nope. I was so naive in thinking that this is that was going to be the only thing needed. No, hype was not enough. First of all, so confusion. So the second word, confusion, right? Yeah, there's this famous quote. It's applied to AI and to big data too. So AI is like teenage sex, right? Nobody really knows what it is, but everybody claims they have it because everybody else claims they have it. And this is what was happening. So everybody was just calling us, wondering, what is this, magical AI stuff? What does it do? What are the use cases? And how can I apply this to my technology? How does it work? What is it, machine learning? Or what is it, deep learning? So many buzzwords around this. And at the same time, there was this notion of evil robots. You know what I mean? So, that was the fear factor. So evil robots, even myself, when I just joined the space, my friends were like, Veronica, once the artificial intelligence takes over the world, just let us know, okay? I said, okay. No, I'm on the robot side. Just kidding. So, but it's all of this stuff that's happening in media, and I have more recent examples here, but ever since Blade Runner, Terminator, we have this fear that there will be these robots, they will rise up against us, and because they're better, smarter, and stronger, overtake us one day. So some influential thought leaders, they also think that it might happen. Some even build rocket ships to try to flee to other planets if this happens. So, and it was funny because it was actually affecting people's minds. When I was talking to prospects and partners, some of the executives were asking me, okay, but how do you make sure that the runaway robot scenario doesn't happen? That your AI doesn't take over our company. And which is fine, I remember even myself when Siri was just launched, when I was taking my phone and asking Siri, are you going to take over the world? And Siri would be like, Veronica, I don't understand. As if I don't feel bad about my accent already, So, that was a lot of fear factor to overcome, especially if you're launching something new. But then if it is something new, but that also threatens the humankind, So how do you build this trust with the market? So turns out simply riding the wave, how I was thinking, not enough. So you thought it was fun? Yeah. So one of the quotes that I was thinking about when, this experience is from Seth Godin. People do not buy goods and services. They buy relations, stories, and magic. So when you think about this, right, how we approach that, the magic part, AI is pretty magical. So that was already covered by this whole notion of this mysterious technology coming out. But then what do you do with relations and stories? And this is exactly the part where product marketing comes in and helps craft this message, helps the sales team, and drives this message to and position into the broader audience. So I think it's fundamental to think about adopting a new technology and looking at this adoption curve, so we all know this technology adoption curve, because it would help you drive your message and identify how to speak to how to speak and to who to speak to and at what time, So we're already talking about messaging and timing. I think that is fundamental for this. So this is Jeffrey Moore's take on this curve, where you have this chasm, right? You have this point beyond which is hard to move. And if you don't move beyond this point, this is it. You're in a dead end. and your total market size is very limited, right? So it's very important for the product marketer to think about not just how to drive the positioning and messaging for these early adopters, but think about the next step and how you want to drive the product into the mainstream market. And we'll come back to this later on. And at the same time, like I said, ecosystem, the entire ecosystem of players is what you want to think about. Of course, there is your buyers, but there is also partners, there is also influencers, competitors, and adjacent technologies. All of this is a part of your network that can be your allies and you can find synergies with the right circumstances. Because you all have some common goals, you just need to find these common goals. So for example, your influencers are, of course, these are the thought leaders, these are the people who want to stay in the front, the cutting edge of the technology. This would be your advisors, this would be your industry analysts. They're incentivized to stay as the thought leaders in the industry, and therefore they would be your biggest advocates when you launch new technologies, so they would be interested because this is their reputation at stake. But they're not the only ones. There's also buyers and partners, some of the people in these organizations. They also would be interested to be advocating for your technology, on behalf of your technology, because they want to be perceived as the influencers in the space. So if we come back to the previous one, so these are your tech enthusiasts and your visionaries. They would like to be perceived as leaders in their organizations, and therefore they champion your product, okay? And then another example is your competitors. First, you might think, oh, well, we need to find our differentiation and, slice the pie. That is all true, of course. However, when it's a high growth market, it's in the common interest that everybody has here is to grow the pie as big as possible, so then everybody gets a larger slice, right? And one of the examples, and of course there was no behind the scenes conversations with competitors or anything like that. But I remember when it all started, there was a fear that AI will take human jobs, and there was a real fear about that. And we as vendors started coming out of positioning and messaging that would say, no, it's not going to take human jobs, it's going to automate your manual tasks, all right? And free up your resources for more meaningful jobs. So the same message, but positioned very differently. And over the course of several months, I've noticed that all of the vendors in the sphere started picking up. And it soon became the industry standard to talk about freeing up resources as opposed to automating jobs. And then finally, adjacent technologies, they are also very important because, we were the AI automation, but think about a broader AI category. The more you attract VC funding and buzz, the more the market trusts you. So the entire category benefits from this joint marketing promotion, all right? And then coming back to influencers, so want to talk a little bit about your advisors and how you build this trust with your customers through your advisors. So one piece of statistics from Forrester is that almost 70% of your buyers want to, they rely on their own due diligence as opposed to getting the information from your website. 60% of your buyers don't even want to talk to sales team. They want to do their own research, and there is no better way to find this due diligence other than through the influencers. So, and especially it is true for highly innovative products. So I have this matrix for Forrester here. It has 4 buying archetypes depending on the decision process, the complexity of the decision process, and also the complexity of the solution. And so the AI automation as a product would fall under transformation, high complexity, high decision involvement of the decision making. And this is something where you want to attract thought leadership, because this is something that your buyers would trust. They oftentimes would not even know what are the options available, because this product is so innovative. They know that there is a problem. They know that there is a lot of risk associated with taking this step and trusting this new technology. So you need to convince them through the people that they trust, which are the influencers. And then, of course, there is this chicken and egg problem of your customer success stories, right? So you have this new technology, launching it to the market. So what comes first, your customers or your customer success stories? Very tricky, because definitely the other source of trust building is the peers for your vendors, right? And here is my thinking and how I approach this. So first you start with a very abstract, you start with your product, and you work with your product team, okay, to build your use cases. Some of the core use cases that you can take to the market and position to that early adopters that would be willing to take this risk and try it out early without any proof, all right? And then as you go into the mainstream, so you have this adoption bell curve on top, right? So your level of credibility should increase. The level of credibility with the marketing materials that you provide. So once you have this early adopters starting off, then maybe they have a proof of concept, a pilot project, right? And this pilot project can serve as your early customer story. Of course, you would say that this is a POC based, but then again, it's already something. And then once they implement it, then you have the first implementation, then you have your first case study where you have real results. So, and then as you scale, you grow this, and so does your level of credibility grows too. Okay. So lessons learned, just to reiterate again. So the hype doesn't guarantee success necessarily. You definitely need planning. You definitely need to put a lot of work because there will be some other obstacles, sometimes unforeseeable, that you would need to overcome. Then you go to market for innovative products. It's built on the relationship with the market. And it is important to start this relationship early with the early adopters and the visionaries, but then always think about the next step and how you would take it to the next group of customers that are mainstream adopters. And then finally, to build your relationship and trust with the market, work with the entire ecosystem. Each player is somehow valuable to you as you're to them. So work together, find the synergies, and jointly grow the market. So that actually concludes my presentation. And I'm open to your questions.
I knew I have a taker.
I'm curious in your experience here in the world of AI. I liked your diagram of building that story from the product to the customer level. Did you, as a product marketer, own that?
Yes.
And so, what did that look like in the in terms of the customer relationship for the other teams that interact with the customers? I guess, are you fighting for contact with sales and customer success? Are you coordinating with them? I'm just I would love to hear your strategy on that.
Yes. As a product marketer, I had to be involved pretty much with different parts of their organization, especially, if we go back to this, and you can see that initially it's product driven and then it's sourced from customers, therefore it's customer success team driven. You definitely want to source from them and work with them and be integrated. Ultimately, we all have the same goal here. So the product team will give you many case studies, though, use cases, sorry. Several use cases because they're so excited. This is their baby, this is their technology. Later, you would probably talk to your sales team and jointly identify what are some core use cases that you can take to the market. All right, and then once you promote that to the market, and then you work with and then you get some customers, then you work with your sales team and also customer success team to get this information from them. And that would typically take a while because, especially for the enterprise, complex enterprise products, the implementation phase and then the post-production until you get some results will take a long cycle. So you will have to be creative to still have some of the marketing materials until you get the real result. Yeah. Thanks for the question.
Here we go.
Thanks for the presentation. Quick question: when does sales comes into the play with the products like futuristic, complex type of solution? Because this is the right slides that I bet they're asking, hey, give me some use cases, give me some POCs that I can pitch to the new guys. So until then, you keep them in the dark, or they are going to be with you? Just a little bit on that one. I'm just curious to know. Thanks.
Yeah, great question. I worked with the sales teams from the very beginning. What I mentioned previously, even when we were identifying the core use cases, it was already all vetted by the sales team because they knew the customers better than I did. They were interacting with them, and I had a high-level understanding of what our customers were, but in the enterprise world, when you cover several industries, there can be so many different pain points, and then your sales would be experts in certain industries, like there's somebody from banking or IT services. You would definitely want their expertise along the way, and especially keeping them in the dark, also not a best practice, because if you don't provide them with something, they will start creating something themselves, which is not always great, right? As we know. So that's from my experience.
Given the fact that when you first began, AI was not well known, so you were most probably faced with very technical questions about the technology. Did you have a prior background in AI in terms of technology? If not, what were the challenges and how did you overcome those to understand what actually you were vouching for in front of your customers?
Yeah, great question. I believe so. As a product marketer, my journey started on the product side, actually. I was a part of the product team at the company where I was before the AI era. And I was heavily involved. I knew the product inside out. And then when I came to the first AI company, I was like, oh my God. What is this machine learning thing? So it was definitely a big transition, and I understood that that was impossible for me to learn this inside out like an engineer would. But I actually learned, I took courses on AI, to be honest, because I firmly believe that product marketers need to understand the product that they position, need to understand the tech. And then even, I spoke with customers because the team was lean and small, and sometimes I had to wear several hats. So one of the best moments, it's when you're a marketer and a technical customer asks you a question and you're able to answer. And you're inside, you're thinking, oh yeah, I got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, one more. One more? Oh, well, great.
Sorry, great presentation. I'm actually working on something that's pretty innovative in my space as well, and I work with a really lean team, and when it comes down to data and deciding on the metrics of something that's not exactly proven just yet, what's kind of the thought process behind choosing those metrics and what to pull together for a case study to prove your success in something that's not been seen anywhere else?
Amazing question. Yes, thank you. For us, so when we started, and because the technology was, the purpose of the technology is to automate, it was pretty clear cut. So how much time you can save. There's always a path towards cost saving or revenue benefits. I think if you can find even an estimate, you can work with this. But then you can also, again, if we look at this, you can start with less tangible benefits until you can measure them, something qualitative, customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, and then slowly drive the product towards, your pitch towards more tangible results as you get them. Unfortunately, when I started, we could not give any tangible benefits from the get-go. And I think best practice would be not to come up with something, backside of the napkin and just like, oh, let's think about this calculation, oh, it's going to save that X of dollars. I don't think we should create fake stories. I think it should be all fact-based. Otherwise, if your customers or the market will catch this, they will feel it, the trust is going to be ruined forever.
Thank you.
Thank you.